hi guys. Thank you for joining our SUS talk number 4 on iBuild on our iBuild mentoring program today. I guess I'll just wait for a few more students to join, but as an introduction, so iBuild is our future mentoring program that introduces students with CEOs and senior executives. And it's an opportunity for you guys to have a one-on-one, like personalized session on Zoom or in person with a senior executive mentor. So when you sign up using the application form, which I'll send on the chat in a second, you'll just put in like your details and then we'll assess and we'll match you with a various engineering executive from different disciplines. So we have construction, we have structural, infrastructure, project management, transport, geotech, environmental, and humanitarian. And just a few of the companies that I'll list that we do offer. We have the Roberts Co., we have Douglas Partners, we have Transurban, Becker, and many more. So today we're joined with Chris, who will be giving our presentation for the first half of this event. And then we have our 3 mentees who've done this mentoring program before. So we have Nicola, who's a part-time undergraduate engineer at the Robert Bird Group. We have Lily, who is an undergrad geotechnical engineer at Douglas Partners. And then we also have Olivia, who is a site engineer at Roberts Co. So I guess I'll pass on to Chris to start our presentation.
Lovely. Sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much, Mia. Firstly, may I say congratulations to SUS again on another fantastic series of initiatives. It seems to just keep getting better, so well done, guys. I'm really pleased to be able to provide you with an overview of the iBuild Our Future Mentoring Initiative for this year. And I thought I'd start by really just giving you a little bit of background. We've actually been going 10 years this year, which is pretty cool. And as Mia said, the aim is to ultimately be able to pair up student mentees with CEOs and senior executives. And it's all very much about trying to set it up on a one-on-one basis so that you can get lots of value out of that process. To that end, we've sort of grown steadily over the last decade, and these days we've got approximately 65 mentors statewide. So we cover a number of the key construction and engineering schools around the state, and for the 3rd year we're very proud to have partnered again with SUS, servicing USyd and the civil engineering students. Little bit of background on myself. I've been around a while. I sort of started in industry pretty much before most of you were born. So I went through and did my Bachelor of Applied Science in Building Services at UTS. I did that over a 6-year part-time period, and I actually did that with a cadetship with AW Edwards, where I was also concurrently trained in a carpentry and joinery trade, which was really good to do both the degree concurrently with the C&J trade certificate that I got. A little bit later on, I did my graduate diploma in land economy. I did that out at University of Western Sydney, and that was a real focus for a little bit later in my career, when I was looking at more property development related roles. So I've kind of had a pretty traditional upbringing, I guess, from a construction perspective, and I guess this career path of mine is very much, I'm hoping that you might sort of relate to it in terms of a lot of people that you might be working with or related to, perhaps, who are in the construction and engineering and infrastructure sectors. But, you know, as I said, I started off as an apprentice and a cadet, and I guess doing that in my formative years was a really good sort of place to kind of learn from the ground up and really sort of understand what was needed to ultimately move into some on-site supervisory roles where I was working as a leading hand carpenter and a foreman, probably about sort of 3 or 4 years after I first started. And then I eventually sort of worked through the ranks and ultimately ended up project managing jobs and also working for a number of years as a development manager. Probably what's more, I guess, poignant with what I'm doing now with the iBuild initiative is what I've been doing in the last 20 years. So the second half of my career, in effect. And that sort of second half of my career was very much mostly senior executive roles. So I was general manager or state manager of a large construction company here in Sydney called Hanson Youngkin. I was there for a number of years and ultimately moved into a COO position. I subsequently took a number of positions, both the CEO position followed by a CSO or Chief Strategy Officer position in a number of subsequent businesses before starting my own practice at Greenwich Associates. In more recent times, I've also had the opportunity and good fortune to do some lecturing in construction studies, where I'm working currently with Faham in your course, doing two subjects this year, one in procurement and tendering, and the other in quality assurance and the like. So I guess I'm pretty well placed to sort of understand the fact that your course is very much designed from an engineering perspective, but I guess from my point of view, I'm also sort of looking at it from the perspective of construction and infrastructure and engineering in the field, so to speak. I work now for a business called Greenwich Associates, which is our family owned and managed business. And I put this slide up really just to give you a little bit of perspective on, I guess, the way that we're able to sort of get a really good understanding of the marketplace and the industry that you're operating in. These 4 businesses pretty much span a lot of the organisations that you may be working with at the moment. And we cover a whole range of stuff from strategy work that we do with business planning and the like, through to project management and quantity surveying and building consulting as part of Greenwich projects. And then through our planning business, we do planning, programming and delay analysis, which also leads us into a lot of expert witness work. And then we actually have a building business, which focuses on country New South Wales in terms of construction work. And we do a lot of facade upgrade work here in Sydney. So I guess I'm reasonably well placed in terms of my experience and my current focus on different elements of the industry and sort of understanding, as I said, sort of what's going on out there and how do we actually apply that from a mentoring point of view. I guess the other factor in sort of presenting this particular slide is a lot of the CEOs who've committed to work with iBuild again this year are clients of mine and friends of mine in some instances, and they're people that in many instances I've actually had the honour of working with for many, many years. And so these people are good enough to put away some time for yourselves as far as this mentoring initiative. So maybe just a little bit about what it's like to be a CEO. I guess, many of you listening this afternoon may or may not want to move, ultimately move into more senior positions in your chosen industry. And whether you do or you don't, I guess these sorts of elements of a CEO can be applied to any sort of leadership role to an extent in the industry. And I guess there's a lot of misnomers about sort of operating as a senior executive in any of our industries, whether it be construction, engineering, or infrastructure. And I guess, you know, there sort of seems to be at times a lot of glamorous aspects to the job, whereas the reality is it's certainly a challenging role, but it can also be pretty exhausting. There's some very long hours involved with it. It can be quite frustrating at times, particularly with respect to you actually find that one day you'll have a brilliant day and it's the most rewarding day, and then the next day you can actually feel like you're taking 2 steps backwards. And I guess, you know, what it takes to sort of be a good CEO is, you know, you've got to be able to get on with people and actually work with a really wide range of people. And I certainly find that in my current position, my current role, I'm literally working with everyone from designer types and highly creative people, engineers, of course, running right through to labourers in the field and carpenters out in the field. And I guess to be able to do that, you know, the big sort of plus for me is that being able to work with a wide range of people, it means that I can actually enjoy a wide range of people, but I also get to learn a lot from that wide range of people that I'm working with. It also means that I guess I get lots and lots of intel into understanding what's happening in the market. You know, there's a lot of macro issues here in Australia from an economics point of view and from an interest rates point of view and other key, you know, macroeconomic aspects. And it's sort of a pretty interesting role being a CEO, because you've actually got to be able to kind of look at what's happening in a macro sense, but then be able to pretty quickly try and sort of understand how do you actually relate that to your own industry, in your own market sector, in your own geography, and so on and so forth. And I think the other thing that comes with it is I realised pretty early on that I don't necessarily need to be, you know, the best construction person or the best engineering person, but I've got to be able to sort of understand, generally speaking, what's happening in the market, be able to work with good people and surround myself with good people, and be able to sort of, I guess, show from a leadership point of view what it takes to actually, you know, lead a business, which is all about just guts and determination and being completely and utterly resilient, because you do get kicks quite a lot in terms of things that happen, and you've got to have the tenacity just to be able to push through it all. I think the last couple of items on the page there are really pertinent as well, in that, you know, that you've just got to have loads of humility, because at the end of the day, if you want to try and start making decisions with ego and the like, then ultimately you'll actually find that you'll make poor decisions for yourself and for the business, and ultimately that's not what we're in business to do. That CEO role, though, is very much, I guess what I've done over the years is tried to sort of develop my skills as a senior executive. And I'm not perfect, and I've got lots of growing and learning still to do. But I've learned over the years that being able to leverage that growth as a CEO is very much about being able to give something back from a voluntary point of view. And the relevance of talking to you about voluntary service in industry, for argument's sake, is really to give you some context about some of our 3 pillars, which I'll talk about shortly, for the actual mentoring initiative itself. And I guess some of the items sort of listed before you there are just aspects of what I've done over the years, whether it be I was the New South Wales president with the Australian Institute of Building for a number of years. I've also worked with the Construction Forecasting Council, where I actually contributed with my views of where the market was going, so that there could be papers prepared for industry in a broader sense in regards to you know, the sort of material price increases and so on and so forth. And a lot of in fact all of those roles were all honorary roles, meaning they were all non-paid roles, they were all voluntary. And I guess I must say that out of those roles, I probably got just as much out of it as what I actually put into it in a weird sort of way. And I would only, I guess I would say, for each of you guys as students, it's really important to think about how you can contribute to the industry that you're choosing to go into, but equally sort of understanding that you'll get out of it as much as you put into it. Particularly from a networking point of view, I made lots of client contacts out of this group. I made lots of friends out of this group, and I've hired people out of this group. I mean, it's amazing once you sort of get involved in some of these industry organisations, how it can really come back and help you in future years. Sometimes from when you actually even undertook the role. I think from your own perspective, it's really thinking about how does organisations, membership groups like ICE and EA actually help you guys to actually grow your own personal and professional belonging to the industry, and how you can actually leverage off that for the future as well. The other part of sort of voluntary service that I've been heavily involved with is in the educational environment. And I guess to that extent, I've had the benefit of being able to build relationships across a broader group of students, which is something that you'll be able to benefit from as well. I have been actively involved in a number of voluntary roles, both from an industry advisory perspective at UTS and Western Sydney. And I did some work with TAFE a number of years ago with their Western Sydney Industry Reference Group. And in more recent times, I've held an adjunct professor role with UTS. Now, again, all of those things were not paid. They were all, very much roles that I got involved with because I felt that it was important to contribute at various stages of my career and do it in a way which was meaningful to me personally, but at the same time, I believe I delivered genuine value in the work that I was doing at the time. And I think from your own perspective, some of those benefits, that you can get out of this sort of voluntary service in education, it's really important to sort of think about, how you can attain skills which will ultimately help you in your work, in your work lives, particularly from a leadership perspective. What I also found was, I had to learn pretty quickly being involved, particularly when I was with the Australian Institute of Building. I had to learn how to sort of juggle my day job with my commitments to the AIB. And certainly that is all, again, part of being able to learn to multitask in your day job. So these are all items that again I'm very proud of having been involved with over the years, and certainly my current professional memberships are through the Institute Manager and Leaders. I'm a member of the Australian Institute of Quantity Surveying and a certified quantity surveyor now with the Institute. I've been a member now with the AIPM for some years, and in more recent times I've become an associate member of the Australian Society of Building Consultants. So whilst they may or may not relate to your career path, but certainly I would encourage you all to think about how that sort of voluntary work, whether it be just through a membership sense or being involved more so from an active participation point of view, they're all items that you should certainly consider as part of your growth. So the value proposition for iBuild Our Future is it's one of the only mentoring initiatives that I'm aware of that is really just focusing on senior executives, as opposed to, and I mean this with no disrespect, but it's not about having project managers or project engineers sit with yourselves on a one-on-one basis. This is about being able to lean on, senior people who've made it in their particular chosen industry, I know with Olivia on the line, you know, she'll talk more about her role at Roberts Co, working with the CEO there, Matt Bourne. And Matt is a guy that has given lots and lots of time through iBuild over a number of years now. And the beauty thing with Matt and others in the program, you know, is that they'll actually share their story of how they've gotten to where they've gotten to. They'll talk about, you know, the you know, what it is that they can create as a legacy, what is value to them in terms of, you know, their contribution to their business and to the part of the industry that they work in. And more to the point, I guess there's an opportunity for them to provide some career guidance to you, you know, in regards to your own talents and how they might be best used in your chosen field. And the thing that I always find amazing when I've spoken to any of these mentors over the years, through my commercial relationships and business relationships with them, and in some cases my friendships with a number of them, is they're just all a group of really beaut people. They're good people, and they have a huge amounts of wisdom to offer young people like yourself, and they're kind enough to be able to you know, just offer up their time for nothing, and do it on a pretty personal level, on a one-on-one basis. So some of the Mentee benefits are worth quickly reflecting on. We actually put forward a HR orientation as part of this process. So in going through and actually prepping yourself in making an application and being chosen to secure a one-on-one mentoring session. Prior to that, we'll actually spend time with you with two HR professionals. One is from A.W. Edwards, and the other is from a company called Hanson Youngkin. Both are very well regarded 15+ year HR professionals, and they will help you develop what needs to be developed in preparation for the actual CEO meeting itself. And that's a really good part of our process, and that'll be done on campus a couple of weeks prior to the actual mentoring session itself. We focus on your chosen field, so I'll talk in a moment a little bit more about that. So irrespective of what civil engineering discipline you're looking at, we can cater for any of those disciplines in regards to the actual mentors that have been chosen. And I think, you know, it's you know, some of the benefits is sort of, you know, again, just also looking at or considering that it's a great opportunity from a networking perspective to be able to meet that mentor. And in some instances, you may well find that there is ongoing work that's actually by the mentor, albeit that's not part of this initiative. That's really a byproduct of this initiative. We've got a number of the students here today and others that have been had the opportunity to ongoing go and work for these organisations full time. So it's a really good opportunity from a mentee perspective. You can see there that, as I said, we covered geotechnical, environmental, humanitarian, right through to project management, and a number of the participating companies that have committed to us, you know, represent some of the top tier businesses across construction, engineering, and infrastructure. And as I said, you know, at the outset, the people that have committed are all, you know, leaders in their respective field and very well regarded in their respective field. And this year we've got 20 executives committed, and we're pretty proud of the fact that, again, we can continue to kind of offer this right across the board with all civil engineering disciplines. So who should apply? Look, certainly we would encourage anyone doing civil engineering, either from an undergrad point of view or from a master's point of view. We'd encourage anyone to apply. The preference is ultimately for people in their final years of study. And I guess that's really more about acknowledging that we've got 20 places and we may get, X number beyond that in terms of applications. So we've got to be able to try and ultimately pair up people who can get the most benefit out of from a going into industry perspective. And I'll talk a little bit more in a moment about our three pillar strategy of community, industry, and education. And all applications. Again, there's a link which will be put up on the screen shortly in terms of how to make the application. So what will sort of set you apart? I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we're looking for people who have that X factor. And this is not about being the brightest student at the University of Sydney. It's not about being the person that's got, the maximum number of degrees beyond your undergraduate course. It's actually about looking for people that see that our values are their values in terms of community, industry, and education. And I guess we're wanting to know more about you as far as, what is your commitment to community, and being able to provide some sentiments to us on, your community involvement, whether that be back at school or through your teenage years or as a young adult. We're very open to what you put forward, but we're really interested in knowing more. And there's some examples there, both in a public sense in Red Cross and also through the NGO mentoring that I know many of you have been involved with. Equally, from an industry point of view, I showed you that slide earlier. I mean, I've got a very strong commitment to providing my industry peers with service. And I think that, anyone that can put forward some testimony to being student members of ICE or EA, and certainly anything else that you might be able to provide to us from the point of view of involvement in those sorts of associations or others, we're pretty keen to know about it. And then equally, from an educational perspective, I guess this is the beyond learning. It's how do you actually get involved in the university at large, whether that be through associations like SUS or others. There's lots and lots of ways that different students over the years have been able to demonstrate their involvement in the broader educational environment that they actually are a part of. And it might be as I said, SUS involvement, or some of the other associations there at the university. It might be in some involvement with perhaps some of the overseas programs that I know some of the schools run. So again, this is about you guys, each of you putting forward in your own words, your involvement in those three key pillars: community, industry, and education. So the pairing process. So this is, I guess, what we do. Once you make your application, then obviously we go through a process to try and pick the students that have met and exceeded the criteria. And we certainly then try and pair on the basis of your student discipline, or rather your preferred discipline. So we'll ask that as part of the application process, being able to indicate what is your preference and second preference in regards to your preferred discipline. So obviously we want to be able to match a transport mentor up with a transport mentee and the like. So we've got 20 CEO and senior execs, as I mentioned earlier, and we'll notify students in the timeline that I'll put up shortly. So following that pairing happening, we'll then be able to provide each of the CEOs, senior execs with your CV and your application. That will give them a good basic understanding of yourself, and it also gives you the ability to then have them think about how they can best help you with respect to the ongoing mentoring meeting once it occurs. What I would say is that look, the mentors there, they are all busy senior execs, and we really do ask that if you are selected and paired up with a mentor, then maintain that right level of respect in terms of being able to attend the session and attend it promptly, attend it with the right level of attire and so on. And these are all items that we'll be able to assist you with when you actually get through the next part of the process, and we actually sit down in the HR discussion and the like. So the applications are open. They close 10th of September at 9 p.m. And we'll notify the following week with the successful mentors who've been paired. And then we've got the 2 dates that have now been locked away, being the HR orientation, which will be held on campus on the 20th of September at 12 noon, and the actual each mentor meeting, which will be held at the respective offices of the CEO or senior exec. They'll all be scheduled for the same time, being the 11th of October at 12 noon. So you may note with the timetable that it takes into account your semester break, and one of the aims of the timetable was to try and hold that mentoring meeting with your mentor a couple of weeks prior to the end of semester and exams and so on. So the application is there on the screen at the moment, and I'll come back to that. We've got a couple of links there as far as, look, we'd love to be able to help in any way that we can. Just drop us a note and let us know if you've got any other specific questions prior to the applications closing next Sunday night at 9 p.m. But we implore any of you to think about making the application and give us the opportunity to go through it to see if we can't get that pairing in place for you. So I guess at that point I've probably got I've said as much as I need to just at the moment, subject to any questions, of course, Maya. But I guess it's now back to Seuss in regards to some of the past mentees and what they think of the mentoring initiative.
Thanks, Chris, for sharing that presentation. So I just want to encourage everyone again that we've put in the application, the link to the application form in the Zoom chat. So it'd be great if you all give it a go and sign up. And also we do have a Q&A session at the end. So there's a Slido link on the chat as well if you want to put your questions in there, or you can just put it on the Zoom chat. But we've got 3 mentees here with us today. And I guess just as a first question for you all, just give us like a brief introduction. Tell us a little bit about, the engineering company that you now work for, and I guess what do you enjoy most about your role? So maybe, Nicola, did you want to start, and then we can go from there?
Yeah, sure. So hi guys, my name's Nick. I'm currently in my final year of study at University of Sydney and work as an undergraduate engineer for Robert Bird Group. So I work in the construction engineering team. So there's a few teams at Robert Bird. There's infrastructure, which deals with really big projects. There's structures, which deals with buildings and stuff like that. And then there's construction engineering, which is what I do, which is dealing with all the design aspects that are to do with temporary works in the construction process. So the reason why I like my job and why I've really been enjoying it and learning a lot is with construction engineering, you get to see kind of the whole process. I know further on in my career, I'll have the opportunity to work on maybe the design aspect from the ground up of really big projects. But for now, getting to see the proposals being sent over by clients, getting to look at the design analysis and a little bit of drafting, you kind of get to see that whole process. And it's been a really good learning experience for me. So that's what I enjoy about my work.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so hey, I'm Lily. I'm also fourth and final year civil engineering student, currently doing a major in geotechnical engineering. So yeah, I worked as an undergraduate geotechnical engineer for Douglas Partners, which is a company which provides geotechnical, environmental, and geomechanics solutions to a bunch of engineering solutions around Australia. Personally, I love the people I worked with. They were always super down to earth and always willing to answer my questions and help me out. Also, the flexibility that I got in my role was great. I worked as a casual and also kept my full-time load. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm Olivia, and I'm currently a cadet site engineer at Roberts Co, which is a construction company. And I'm currently working on the Children's Hospital at Westmead Stage 2 redevelopment, and we're building a paediatric services building, which is a really exciting project to be working on. So I'm really enjoying that. And I haven't been here for too long, but what I'm really enjoying is we get to work with so many people every day, and basically everything is really collaborative. You're working with the architect, you're working with the structural engineer, and all different teams within our site team that we have here. And I think by getting to do so much, and like Nicola was saying, do such a broad range of things, I'm really learning so much, which I'm really enjoying.
Thanks guys for sharing. So I've got one more general question, just kind of open floor, so feel free to just jump in when you want to answer. But did you have a career goal, I guess, before the mentoring program? And what do you think has changed the most within the industry that you work in now? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me personally, my career goal was to simply grow and personally develop skills in communication and leadership. At the time, I wasn't really certain which area of civil engineering was for me, and that's something that I definitely got out of my mentoring program. Another thing, I think the second question was what has changed in the industry. I think one big thing that has changed over the last 10 to 15 years was simply the number of women who are now training up to be engineers, which is awesome, really, and I'm actually proud to be one of them. Which means there has been certain adaptations that have been made for women in the workplace, and I think one of those things is just the emphasis on diversity, and then also mothers' rooms and pay and things like that.
I think I had broad career goals before I went into the mentoring program. Like, I've always wanted to kind of work my way up into senior management and that kind of thing, but I don't think I knew enough about what opportunities within engineering were open to me before I kind of met my mentor and discussed it further with him. I've always known I didn't want to be a structural engineer, so I was kind of just looking for anything else, really. And I think this is construction is a great way. I also studied commerce. It's a great way to kind of join those two things. And as for changes in the industry, I was going to say the gender inclusion thing as well, like Lily. But another thing that I'm seeing in construction is the 5-day work week, which is a really big thing at Roberts Co. The project, all projects actually right now are running a 5-day work week program, which is a big change for the construction industry, which is used to a 6-day program. And I think we're seeing the industry change as a whole, not just specific companies, with other companies also taking on the 5-day work week, which I think adds to the ability for the industry to be more inclusive to women, particularly mothers, and just general mental health and well-being of all construction workers and site workers. And it's a really interesting change to see.
Yeah, so for me, any career goals before the mentoring program? Not really. Like many students, or at least I think, it was extremely dependent on like the last bit of advice I heard. I didn't really know what I was doing or where I wanted to go. And actually, when I got the interview for this job, I didn't really know what construction engineering was either. I had to do quite a bit of research before I started. So yeah, but in a sense, that's kind of a good thing. You're able to be malleable and kind of adjust to whatever environment is presented to you. And and you'll get goals eventually. So I'm not really rushing into that. And as for major changes, Technically, there's been, at least on the design side, there's been a really big push for technology, and for designers, especially young engineers, there's a bit of pressure because you're a bit younger and you're expected to just be technologically apt, like coming in, even if you haven't seen the software. But yeah, there's some really crazy stuff you can do now with one that we're working on now is Rhino and Grasshopper, which is a software that allows you to jump between drafting models and analysis models and really streamlines that process. So there's been a really big push at RBG, especially for engineers to gain skills in that and kind of streamline the workflows of the things that we deal with.
Nice. And Nicola, I've got another question for you. So how were you able to maintain these connections, I guess, beyond the program to get to the position you are now?
Yeah, so in terms of maintaining connections, it's I think a lot of it matters about how you present when you meet with your mentor. It's important to be prepared and have questions and kind of aim to impress. It's kind of like a tryout, a bit more than an interview because you're asking more questions. But yeah, in terms of maintaining connections with my mentor, it was all about reaching out and kind of probing for certain things like, do you mind if I add you on LinkedIn, or I'll send you my CV? I heard that sending the CV has been incorporated into the process now, which is really good. And yeah, I was lucky that I'd actually met someone at the mentoring event, the industry night, sorry, who worked at the same company as the mentoring event. So yeah, I spoke with Jason Langer from Robert Bird. He was obviously happy with the chat we had. And then when he sent my CV through to Robert Bird Group, someone already knew who I was there. So it's kind of like a luck surface area. Just a thing that I did before that I didn't think mattered kind of popped up again, and it really helped me to maintain those connections. With Jason, we don't speak. He's a busy man. He was in Dubai when we spoke, and now he's in New York. But I still have him on LinkedIn. I get to see what he's up to, and yeah, I'm sure if I reached out, he'd be happy to chat.
Nice. It's really nice that you still have that you're able to like stay in contact with the mentor that you had, who helped you, kind of start and come all this way. And I guess for Lily, so you're a fourth year student now. What year did you decide to join the mentoring program? And did this kind of, did you have to think about how to balance, have like possibly pursuing like an engineering job while studying at uni, and kind of what advice would you give to younger students or anyone who wants to kind of join now?
Yeah, so I was in my second year when I entered the program. So at the time, I was actually looking to get some experience and boost those PEP hours. So joining the mentoring program also definitely impacted my employability. So Bruce McPherson, who was my mentor, who was the Sydney branch manager at Douglas Partners, yeah, he actually gave me a good job after the interview, which was awesome. I kind of popped a question about getting some tips on my first internship, and he kind of reacted with saying, if you'd like some experience, like we're willing to give you some. So that was awesome, really. In terms of balancing engineering job and uni, it wasn't easy, I'll say that. I worked off a timetable personally where I set out my work week. So I blocked out times for study and for work, and I held myself accountable to that as much as I could. I also ensured that I was taking enough breaks and getting enough sleep. So one of my breaks is cricket. So I play cricket on weekends and stuff, and that's kind of my mental health and my outage from uni and work. So it's really important to have something that's like very separate, where you can get that activity where it's completely different. Do I recommend it now? I certainly do recommend working and studying. I think that getting that practical experience and seeing things being put together in the field is really important, and it can also kind of let you know which field of engineering you're more willing or looking to go down. But yeah, I think that answers your questions.
Yeah, I definitely think that I struggle a lot with, trying to find the balance, and especially doing a double degree, which with commerce, which I think Liv, you did that as well. So engineering and commerce, it's definitely really hard. But yeah, those are really great tips. I'll definitely be using those. But yeah, so for Liv, so you're a site engineer at the Roberts Co company. And I guess in what ways do you think this program helps you enhance, your technical skills or expand your engineering knowledge? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in loads of ways, it's helped me expand my technical skills. I'm not working kind of directly in the structures team at the moment. I'm doing procurement, but I think that's really helped me develop all those soft skill competencies that they're looking for in PEP. Like, I'm constantly talking to people. It's taught me a lot about how to utilize different communication styles. I think, like, when I need to be confrontational, which is something that doesn't really, I would say, come naturally to me. It's kind of required when you're trying to pester people for money or anything like that. I think also being able to go on site and see how all those things we learn in lectures are actually applied to a real life building is pretty amazing. And it's really helped me kind of deepen my understanding of things like, I don't know, steel reinforcement, concrete slabs, how, I don't know, load paths, everything like that. I think it's really helped me understand that better, because this was the first time I had ever really been on site. I've never worked in construction before. So it's really helped me understand what Tim Wilkinson goes on about all through his lectures. And yeah, but I think really the soft skills is where I've been developing the most and really expanding my knowledge and ability, I would say.
Thank you for sharing. So I'm just gonna check the slider link just to see what questions we have that you guys can feel free to answer. So someone said, did the students who were successful previously have to like do a lot of activities in the community, education or industry to ensure they got in? So I guess what is I guess Chris, this is also a question for you, but what is iBuild kind of looking for? What requirements would a student should have to like better their chance?
Yeah, look, ideally, it's your commitment to date, but certainly some students also looked at what they could immediately do, and again, that all shows an aptitude to wanting to try and get on and improve themselves, and I guess a real will to want to be a part of this initiative. So obviously there's sort of three bits. There's items that you would have done in the past, and then items that you could in fact go and commit to, frankly, straight away, particularly from a student association point of view. There's some no-brainers there, and then there may well be some opportunity that you include in regards to what you want to do next, or how you want to connect in the future some of those items. So I mean, we're happy to kind of look at all of those three. Obviously, items that you've done in the past would be the primary thing that we're interested in. But if you haven't been involved much in any of those three pillars in the past, I'd strongly recommend you think about it this week and think about how you can get involved. Because even if you missed out with iBuild this year, say, you're actually then setting yourselves up for the same process next year when we do the collaboration again with SUSE in 24.
Did you guys also have anything else to add? I guess maybe from personal experience, did you guys do anything before you joined the mentoring program? Or did you just apply just like for fun, kind of?
I think, like, you've always done more than what you think you've done. You can come up with creative things to apply to in different circumstances. Like, I know one of the questions is, how do you commit to education, was it? Like, outside of general study, or how do you include yourself in education? And I think I had done some like 0 credit point OLEs during COVID just to keep myself busy. So I spoke about that and how I like to learn outside of my degree and stuff like that. There's always things outside of those traditional things that you think of that I think apply to your overall involvement. Yeah. I think the one that people struggle with the most as well is probably industry involvement. And I think, yeah, I was a member of maybe one like industry society or whatever it's called. But yeah, you can talk about things you learned in uni, I'd say, and stuff.
Yeah, just to reiterate, just quickly, like Chris said, it's even if worst case it's not your year this year, but you start that process, that's already great. That's already massive progress. So I kind of had the issue the year before of not having done much, and it was kind of a wake-up call. Okay, I should probably get involved. And yeah, that's what it's about. It's about getting involved, and then those opportunities start to pop up. So
and another question on Slido is, how do you make an active effort to, I guess, transition between technical leadership roles such as a PM to a corporate leadership role such as, you know, CEO, which how do you kind of move up in your roles? And I guess, I don't know, everyone starts as a student at uni, with like basic experience, but yeah, how do you kind of fast track yourself?
I'm not sure that there's a perfect answer that I can give on that, to be honest. But I think sort of understanding that there's grassroots training that you got to do. You got to really crawl before you walk, before you run, so to speak. And I think that what you'll find in the first probably 5 or 6 years of your work in industry, following leaving the university environment, is that you'll find that your natural gifts and your natural interests, I guess, will naturally take you down certain paths. But I think to try and give yourself the best possible opportunity, I mean, and I'm sorry to sort of harp on the 3 pillars, but I guess what I've learned over the years is that really focusing on those 3 things, which are non-technical, and it's not about remuneration nor the degree you get. They're actually 3 items that are all about developing yourself. And if you focus on those 3 pillars concurrently with the technical aspects of your job, then over the next 4 or 5 years, you'll naturally find your way. And then sort of, the more you're in industry, then obviously opportunities will prevail. And I think from a senior executive perspective, you probably won't know that for 5 to 10 years at least before you can sort of see opportunities in that arena. But creating that really strong network is so important, and it's got to be a genuine network. And I guess that's one of the advantages of iBuild, in that, what it's done is, literally forevermore, Matt Bourne and Olivia's will always have a relationship now for the next X number of years that he and she is in industry. And it's the same with, Jason Langer and yourself, Nicola. Again, you've got a relationship with like the global MD of Robert Bird's, right? That's pretty cool, right? And so that relationship now is, you can call on him in 12 months, 10 years, 30 years, whether it be for a cup of coffee or some advice, and he will help you. I can guarantee you. So again, that's a really strong element in what you've done in building that network. And it's the same with Bruce as the Sydney manager at Douglas. For yourself, Lily. I mean, Bruce only the other evening was talking about how proud he is of the relationship that he's got with yourself and what Douglas have helped you do in your career, and so, and he's one of the forefathers of the geotechnical industry now. So again, that's a lifelong relationship that's been created. And I think that's really the key here with iBuild. It's about unlocking some really key senior relationships that ultimately can help you go as far as you'd like to in your career. So hopefully that answers the question, Mia, but it's a top question, I might add. It's a really good question. So
we've only got about 4 minutes left. I guess, is there anything else, any last things that you guys would like to share? Chris, anything else you'd like to add? Yeah, before we wrap up.
Look, my only comment would be for any of the students online or any of the students that pick up the presentation, just if you recognise the value in being able to attain a one-on-one mentoring session plus the HR session, don't not do it, because as I said, even if you miss out this year for whatever reason, there's always next year. And what I'm hoping that it will do for each of the students is really kind of have each of you thinking about what it is that's important for you that makes you the best possible person who can contribute to this awesome industry that we're all in. So yeah, if you just even thinking about it, 9 o'clock next Sunday night, guys. So we're really looking forward to seeing your applications.
Just one thing I wanted to add: if you are lucky enough to get it, prepare like a lot. It's a really good opportunity. It's pretty golden, and so like prepare notes, get a haircut if that's relevant, shave, whatever you need to do to look professional. It's a really big opportunity. Yeah. So for reference for me, like I spoke to Jason Langer on a Friday night. He was in Dubai. It was morning for him. And he said, send me a resume. I sent it about 8 o'clock. I got a call on Monday at 10 a.m. saying, can you come in for an interview? So the people that you're talking with aren't just regular people in these companies. If they get an email, oh, I recommend this person, it's a massive deal. So do prepare. It's a pretty golden opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Nicely said, Nicola.
Thank you guys so much for sharing, your own perspectives, your own experiences. I know that I've taken a lot, away from hearing you guys talk and, just learning more about this, iBuild mentoring program. And I guess that kind of wraps up this event, if there's nothing else anyone would like to add. But yeah, thank you so much for your time on a Monday evening, for I guess just sharing, and also for the students who've joined the Zoom today. It's been really good to see that we have so many people attend this SUS event. So yeah, again, I really encourage everyone to sign up, use the application form. It's also on Facebook, so we do have it as an event, and we've got all the links there as well. If you have any questions, I guess you can just message SUS, email SUS, or me. And if you want to talk more to these guys, Lily, Olivia, Nicola, also I'm sure they'd like to share as well. So yeah, thanks guys for joining. I hope to see you guys at our next SUS talk as well.